welcome or welcome back. Lovely to have you. Today we're going to chat about lung volumes. Did you know that the bottom of your breath is actually nowhere near the bottom of your breath? You probably have at least 2 liters of air, if not more, stuck in there. I'm Tess. I'm an apnea yoga teacher. I'm also a clinical nurse specialist with a unique, I keep on saying unique, it's not unique, with a special interest in airway and breathing. Let's dive into lung volumes. As you know, breathing is something that we can either actively think about or it can go completely on autopilot. When it's on autopilot, we're doing what's called tidal breathing. So we're not taking too big of inhales or too big of exhales. It's all comfy, cozy, kind of staying right in the middle of our lung volume. And for example purpose, let's say total lung volume is 5 liters. Now, it could be more or less than that dependent on a million different factors, but to avoid spiraling, I'm just gonna leave it at 5 liters lung volume. So our tidal breathing is happening in about the 2 to 3 liter zone. 2 liters at the bottom, we breathe in a liter of air, we're at 3, and oscillate through there. So for 90% or more of the day, you're only exchanging 1 liter of air at a time, although your lungs can hold a 5 liter capacity. Interesting. Now, when you've reached the top of your tidal breath, there's still room in the top of your lungs. You have what's called your inspiratory reserve volume. So you can continue to fill those lungs all the way up to 5 liters. Now, just the same, at the bottom of your lungs, you have an expiratory reserve volume. So that's the air that you can force out with your intercostals, with your rib cage, that you can breathe out at the bottom of your breath. But does that leave you exactly zero liters, nothing left in your lungs? It doesn't, because if it did, you would have no structural integrity, your alveoli would get stuck into itself, and it would just be a bad situation. So when you have physically pressed out all of the air that you possibly can, you're left with your residual volume. So that is a liter and a half of air that is always in your lungs to keep the structural integrity, to keep your alveoli from being a plump little grape to a sad, dried up and sticky raisin, to keep your vessels, your tissue, everything in the shape of lungs. So both of those volumes, your expiratory reserve volume and the residual volume together, that makes up your functional residual capacity, or your FRC. So that is all of the air that's left in your lungs when you're at the bottom of a comfortable exhale. Why is this relevant? It might not be. You're the one that clicked on this video and was interested in learning about lung volume, so I'm going to leave that on you. I think it's interesting too. But for the purposes of apnea yoga, when we are truly in flow, moving, all through sorts of funky shapes and movements, that's meant to be somewhere in your tidal volume. So either at the top, about 3 liters, or at the bottom, about 2 liters in your lungs. Because if you were to take that entire inspiratory reserve capacity, fill yourself all the way up to the tippy top of your lungs, and then go move around, well, your lungs are really delicate tissue, and even if you're strong and healthy and flexible and all the things, you could seriously damage yourself doing that, and that is not the goal. Apnea yoga is to be a gentle stretch for the lung tissues, breathing muscles, fascia, etc. It's not supposed to put pressure on the lung tissues. Now, I haven't fact-checked this, but I have heard of professional freedivers who have actually popped a lung by having too much air in their lungs and then proceeding to do a vinyasa or something like that. So remember that this isn't I think that sometimes we can kind of get into this mindset of, I just want to go a little bit longer, a little bit further, a little bit deeper. That's not apnea yoga. Don't want to have just a little bit more or a little bit less air in your lungs. That is not going to fare you well. Let's be safe. Always dive safe, practice safe, all the things be safe, because we want to live in these bodies for a really long time, so we have to treat them so nicely. Anyways, that's about my spiel on the lung volumes and capacities, and hopefully you had some tidbits to take from that, and I look forward to seeing you either at the next in-person thing or behind the camera as well. Heaps to check out. See ya!